Hey rejects, it's Swiggs. Today we are covering a bit of a different veteran build, one that I have dubbed the Trench Rat. A hard frontliner, the Trench Rat focuses on strong close quarters damage, tearing apart any enemy that dares step into their foxhole or fails to flee their advance. And like any good soldier ready for the trenches, they are in for the long haul, keeping themselves alive with a high toughness and toughness damage reduction so that they can shrug off glancing blows while flooding the trenches with their foes' viscera. But like any guardsman, no matter how tough they are knows, they're doomed if they start hearing their weapons click or their allies croak, so supporting themselves and the team is still a vital pillar for this build, keeping the bullets flowing and providing field triage as they keep the war machine marching to victory. Also, if you're new here or still on the fence, consider subscribing to the channel. New guides are always being produced and you won't want to miss them. Plus, we've got some super top secret plans for more content in the future, so stay tuned. For our talent tree, we use a bit more of a chaotic path, diverting and forking our path to secure a number of buffs essential to putting this build together. Now, to help make these videos a bit more concise and to the point, we'll be foregoing a complete node-by-node coverage of the tree in favor of a shorter overview of key nodes that enable the build. But for a full build map to replicate on your own, it'll be made available in the description and hosted by the fine people at Games Lantern, so give that a look or pause the video here if you're interested in viewing the whole spread. But first off, we're going to need to prioritize our close quarters kit and make sure that our weapons are being appropriately fed a buffet of buffs. With our CQC focus, we will often be contested and denied reliable time to aim for delivered shots, instead flashing a sudden burst of ranged damage into the fight before returning to our human blender form. While this doesn't prevent us from popping heads, especially at our preferred point-blank distance no less, buffs that rely on an especially high accuracy, patience, and a disconnect from the fray aren't going to be much help to us here. Instead, we'll be taking nearly every damage-boosting operative node available to us, missing only a single 5% range damage buff in the tree. But these minor buffs are just icing on the cake, and we have plenty more in store with this build. For the Emperor and Close Quarters Kill Zone, for starters, provide us an on-demand boost to our damage after using our chosen combat ability, Voice of Command, making the ability stagger everything around us while also providing some lethal damage buffs on the side. Next we have Desperado and Exploit Weakness, with Desperado's 10% crit chance directly supporting access to brittleness on hit from Exploit Weakness, on top of a 25% finesse modifier increasing our critical and weak point damage. But the beating heart of this build lies in our chosen keystone, Weapons Specialist, and the passive Agile Engagement. With our already strong focus in melee, earning ranged specialist stacks is a no-brainer, providing us access to a higher rate of fire and damn near guaranteed crits on our next shot. And combining it with Agile Engagement, if we make that swap right after a kill, we get to just stack another 25% damage on top like a cherry. And to secure the other half of our Keystone's benefits, all we have to do is kill a single enemy after swapping to our ranged weapon. Once we've accomplished this surely Heraclean task, swapping back to our melee weapon grants us faster, longer dodges and a 15% increase to our attack speed, which is certainly noticeable on most weapons. Oh, and of course we do get another 25% damage from Agile Engagement too. And this is the secret sauce here, as we will be routinely swapping back and forth between our melee and ranged weapons, turning from cutting down poxwalkers like blades of grass to painting a wall with a particularly unlucky shotgunner in our midst without missing a single beat. But to see any of this frenzied combat potential actually come to fruition, we need to be tough enough for the front line to become our new home sweet home. Naturally, our combat ability, Voice of Command, already provides a strong head start with its meaty full toughness heal, and buffs to its regen from tactical awareness helps make its appearance more consistent. But in between these bursts, Confirmed Kill and our Keystone upgrade On Your Toes will be keeping us plenty well stocked with toughness shields. While we won't have the full range of a more classical ranged weapon to turn every far-off specialist and elite enemy into a medkit, we can quickly evaporate melee elites with a crack grenade for easy toughness, and any specialists floating throughout the horde will be treated with the same dignity of a speed bump as we shred apart the crowd, providing little pockets of toughness as we make our way through like a treat. And with as much as we will be activating both our weapon specialist bonuses, On Your Toes will be delivering a steady flow of toughness chunks throughout the fight. And all these gains will be protected by Close Order Drill and Iron Will, keeping our toughness meter plenty stable even on those pesky Auric High-Int shock gauntlets where we need them most. As for our support options, the Trench Rat is surprisingly a friendly build. With both Voice of Command upgrades plus the additional ability modifier from For the Emperor, we can make our combat ability a rallying cry that can be used to bolster a failing position or prevent a cascaded downs, reviving, healing, and buffing our team with a press of a button, all while pushing their attackers to the floor. Meanwhile, our chosen Aura Survivalist helps prevent everyone in the squad from starving during ammunition droughts, with Demolition Stockpile and Demolition Team preventing us from stealing every grenade box just to keep those crack grenades handy. Now for our weapons, you'd think that we'd be pretty constrained, but our options are surprisingly open with this build. Many of our melee buffs are fairly playstyle agnostic, only really requiring that they're able to 1. Kill things, and 2. Don't mind being interrupted by a quick ranged weapon swap. Ideal candidates would be combat axes, most chain weapons, shovels, devil swords, and power swords. Since we plan on this to be our primary weapon for the build, the more versatile the melee weapon we choose, the more success it will bring to the table, so choose wisely, and my personal suggestion will be coming soon as well. As for ranged weapons, we really want quick draw times and weapons that can do what they need to do fast, ideally doing so comfortably within our melee mosh pit. In that respect, shotguns, braced autoguns, auto pistols, and revolvers can bring a lot to the table in this regard. And since we have that high crit chance with ranged specialist active, weapons favoring high crit damage or possessing crit synergies can really take our performance to the next level, and it's something that I'll keep in mind when I go over my personal ranged pick for the build. But my personal melee weapon for this build is the brand new Orestes Mark 12 Assault Chain Axe. Being one of the latest additions to our arsenal, it's an incredibly potent and still versatile weapon. With light attacks that basically never shred, the weapon doesn't miss a beat bashing through hordes with back-to-back relentless strikes, capable of handling hordes and specialist mix-ins very comfortably. But the heavy attacks are a whole nother story, with overhead strike-down attacks that can be used either on their own or in conjunction with a shred special attack, delivering devastating wounds to the toughest of enemies and death blows to anything else. As for perks, I went with Flak and Maniac to give the axe an edge against some of those aforementioned speed bumps within the hordes will be chewing on like a rabid dog. Meanwhile for blessings, I'm using both Slaughterer and Headtaker, 2 blessings that secure a lethal momentum to the axe after it started swinging into the crowd. Headtaker and our Maniac modifier can be substituted for thrust in either carapace or unyielding damage modifiers, synergizing really well with the chain axe's overhead heavies and making it even better at elite and monstrosity killing. However, the sheer quantity of crack grenades I was generating throughout a match made this feel a bit like overkill to me, so while it's still definitely a relevant option for this kit, I opted for the more general damage buffs instead. As for our ranged options, I picked up good old reliable, the Cantriol Mark 9 combat shotgun. My favorite shotgun, there's not much the Cantriol can't do, and the weapon's quick draw time and high close quarters damage makes it a top choice for the build. And since it's a proper boomstick, you'll find that it's difficult to not kill a Poxwalker by accident when you flash it in a crowd, keeping access to melee specialist a simple task. Plus, its Dragon's Breath special is an excellent counter to bulwarks, able to ignite them even when their shield is raised, preventing them from contesting us while we do our work. As for its perks, we'll repeat our Flak and Maniac modifiers, helping secure better breakpoints against the remaining elites and specialists we don't already have a hard counter to with our crack grenades or our Dragon's Breath shells. For blessings, the already high stagger from the Cantriol makes No Respite a phenomenal damage booster, basically guaranteeing its higher bonus on the second shot. However, for its second blessing, we'll be mixing it up while making the most of our guaranteed crits from our ranged specialist ability and take Manstopper. A tier 2 only blessing, Manstopper can easily be overlooked at first. While its text may seem pretty underwhelming, trust me that it puts in work, and while playtesting I was able to liquidate nearly 100 Poxwalkers within a single shell. So while rotating between weapon specialist modes, we'll be deleting whole lines of chaff with this shotgun before diving back into a vicious melee. And the more I play with this build, the more I really enjoy that even though we are primarily using our melee weapon, our ranged pick is still delivering us so much power and utility while answering the mission's threats. As for Curios, I prefer my go-to spread of 1 toughness and 2 stamina Curios. With our Trench Rat's heavy melee focus, guaranteeing we have the stamina available for the brawl is even more important than ever. But supplementing our build with a little extra toughness helps keep us healthy, and you won't really notice a 3rd stamina Curios missing unless you are really spamming your blocks and block pushes. As for the Curios perks, combat ability, stamina, and toughness regen are my top picks. The more uses we get out of our voice of command ability throughout the match, the more opportunities we have to instant revive allies and bolster the squad during intense fights, of which there will be many on high difficulties. And our stamina and toughness regen perks help provide more responsive bounce backs in between fights and even within them, helping prevent the slow war of attrition the Imperium is known for from wearing us down over time. That's about it. Honestly, the Trench Rat style is very rewarding to play through, and as a Zealot main, it really makes me feel quite at home as a veteran. But that's all for this video. If you liked the video, drop a like, comment if I missed anything, and have a great day. Until next time, see ya!